Good morning, everybody. It's Claire Jones here from Your One Life Healthy Weight Solutions, and I'm here with you live on Monday morning, the 6th of March 2023, for episode 37 of Monday Morning Matters. Now, as it's a new month, we've got a new theme. So this month's theme is all about how managing our weight is like managing our money. And throughout the month, I'll be working on this with you. Today, it's going to be all about just giving a bit of an overview as to in the ways that they are similar, and also a little bit about how that helped me. Now, if you are watching live, I would absolutely love it if you could come on and say hello. I always love it when I see comments because I know I'm not then talking to myself, but also it just helps Facebook to let other people know that I've gone live, and it also helps Facebook to know that you want to see these kinds of things in your news feed. So do say hello if you're there. I unfortunately don't always get to see when someone has come on and is watching, so apologies, I'm not ignoring you. If you do say hello, I will promise I will come back into the comments later and acknowledge that you were there, and it's great that you're joining me, so thank you very much for that. So as I was saying, this month is all about the similarities between managing our weight and managing our money, and what you can do to maybe get a bit better doing both, because they are so closely intertwined in terms of our behaviour around money, and our behaviour around food tend to be very similar. So what I'm going to do today is just go through a little bit about, as I say, the similarities, and then next week and the week after we'll be going into it in a bit more detail, so we can explore what you can do to get better at managing both. So just to give a little bit of the background, obviously when it comes to managing our money, we know, don't we, that we don't have an unlimited supply of money, much as we would like to. We can't just go and spend all of our money whenever we like, on whatever we like, without there being some kind of consequences. And obviously those consequences can be quite severe. If we really go overboard with spending money, we can end up in all sorts of debt, we can end up going bankrupt, we can lose our homes, we can lose everything. So we have to learn how to manage that, don't we? And obviously, some people are better at managing money than others, and I know I used to be terrible about managing money, much better these days. And part of that is because how I learned to manage my food, my eating behaviours, and managing my money, what I learned helped me with both, and that's what I want to share with you. So obviously, as I say, when it comes to money, there are limits. There are limits with what we can do. And actually, when we think about it, the same applies to our food. We can't eat unlimited amounts of food without putting on weight. So where we have, a financial budget, financial constraints, we also have a limited energy budget. Because if we go over that energy budget, if we spend more calories than what our bodies need, we're going to put on weight. And then we all need to obviously cut back if we want to then lose weight. It's very, very similar. Now, obviously when it comes to managing our money and managing our weight, there's lots and lots of information out there. So I did a little bit of a Google search as I was preparing for coming live to you today. I did a little bit of a Google search on, advice about how to manage your money better. And what I came up with was this list. And as I go through it, I'm going to tell you how it's so similar to managing our weight. So how to manage your money better. Number one, make a personal budget. So if we're thinking about financial budget, that's how much money have you got to spend in a month, in a week, in a day. Yeah. So if we don't want to go into debt, we've got to stick within that limit. We might need to flex it a little bit day to day, week to week, but we have the overall budget that we have to stay within if we don't want to get into debt. Same is true in relation to calories. There is a limited amount of calories that we can eat each day without putting on weight. And the first step, in my opinion, is to, in terms of managing this, is to work out what is your energy budget. How much energy can your body take in without putting on weight? Yes, of course, obviously the quality of the food that we eat is important too. And obviously the more unprocessed foods that we eat, the more natural foods that we eat, the further we can make that energy budget go, because it's not all about volume of food, it's about the energy density of the food. And if you think about, a matchbox size of cheese, it's 120 calories. And what could you have that's much larger than that for the equivalent if you were eating, say, unprocessed food? So you could have a large banana for the same amount of calories as in that cheese. That's the difference in terms of size. So it's not all about the volume of food, it's about the energy density of the food. When we understand about that, and we understand by monitoring what we're doing, how much we can eat to stay at a healthy weight, or the weight, or not put on weight, that is, in my opinion, the very first step in terms of managing our weight. We need to understand what our energy budget actually is. So, number 2 on this list of how to manage your money better, track your spending. So this is where tracking our food intake can really, really help, because then you can see how much you can eat. So I don't, a lot of people, when it comes to losing weight, it's like, right, okay, I'm going to just cut my calories and I'll log everything, I'll cut my calories. But we've missed out a really important step, which is just log what you're currently doing. Log what you're currently doing and find out, are you overspending, or are you actually, if your weight is stable and what you're doing, then that's your maintenance level. And if you know how you're normally eating, and then you can look at where can you start making savings. I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to come back to that. Saving for retirement is number 3 on how to manage your money better. That's looking after our health, isn't it? So if we're eating well, if we're eating the right amount of food for our bodies, and we're eating the right kinds of foods, and we're eating in a way that is according to what our bodies need, so we're not eating when we're not hungry, we are actually safeguarding our future health in doing that, or our future health prospects. Obviously, there are things that we have no control over, but, it's about controlling the controllables, isn't it? And if we can make a difference in terms of, our behaviour, that's going to reduce the risks of things that we may be susceptible to from a genetic perspective or an environmental perspective. Number 4 on the list, save for emergencies. So that, in my book, is about saving up for weekends and special occasions. So if you want to have a big meal out and you don't want to put on weight, it's about where can you balance your calories so that you're not overspending. It's like, thinking about going on holiday, saving up for your spending money when you go on holiday. It's the same principle. So one of the things that I quite often do, this is one of the things that I do to manage my weight. If I going away on holiday or a long weekend or something like that, a couple of weeks beforehand, I will cut back to be able to save a little bit of leeway so that when I come back from the holiday, I'm just the same as I was like 2 or 3 weeks before I went. And that is how I manage. And I know that that's what I need to do if I want to be able to go away and eat a little bit more than normal while I'm on holiday, enjoy myself, not go overboard, but be able to balance my calories. That is not about being obsessive. That is not about being restrictive. That is simply about being sensible, about managing my energy budget. That's all it is. Strip all the emotion out, just being sensible. Number 5, plan to pay off debt. That's losing weight, isn't it? If we have gained weight, then we need to lose it by cutting our calories so that we can manage our weight, so that we are no longer in debt to our bodies. We are back in balance. Same as if we've overspent and we need to pay a bit more to to pay off that debt. So it's kind of reverse in a way, because obviously our weight is almost like a savings account rather than a debt. But hopefully you get where I'm coming from with this. Number 6. Establish good credit habits. Okay, so that to me, the equivalent with managing our weight is about healthy eating within a calorie deficit or a calorie budget, calorie balance, depending on whether you're aiming for maintenance or trying to lose. So getting into good habits with your eating behaviours. So that's eating obviously the right amount of food and minimising the amount of processed foods that we eat, because the problem with processed foods is that most of the digestion is done for us. So we're going to be absorbing every single one of those calories, whereas when we're eating less processed foods, our bodies have got to work harder, so they burn calories in digesting that food, and we don't necessarily absorb all of the energy. So that's another really good reason why, limiting unprocessed foods. I'm not saying you can't ever eat a bar of chocolate. I'm not saying you can't ever eat a packet of crisps. What I'm saying is that we need to limit those things so that they are a much smaller proportion of our intake. And then finally, number 7, improve your money mindset. So this is where it all starts. We've got to have the right mindset to manage difficult situations. We've got to stop expecting the quick fixes. We've got to stop expecting that there's this magic solution out there that's going to do it all for us. There isn't. And the other thing is, there's all these things that, you've got to address your hormones, cut sugar out, cut this out, cut that out. Now, in my very experienced opinion, let's just get the basics right first. And if you've tried doing the basics and then you're still not getting the results, that's when it's important to look into things a little bit more deeply. But if you have spent a month of eating in a calorie deficit or in calorie balance, eating minimally processed foods, you're limiting alcohol, you're limiting salt, you're getting enough sleep, you're managing your stress, and it's still not working, that's when you might need to look at things more deeply. But let's keep it simple. Keep it simple. And honestly, I have not yet met someone where we did that and they didn't lose weight. It's just get the basics right, and then we can look at things in more detail if we need to. And that's even with things like PCOS, with menopause, with all sorts of things like thyroidism, hypothyroidism, all of those things. It's getting the basics right and then see what else we might need to do. So yes, when it comes to managing our weight, we say things like, oh, don't weigh yourself because it makes you miserable. Don't count the calories, it's boring. But actually, does that really work? I know in my experience that every single time that I didn't track and I didn't weigh myself, those were the times that I would put on weight without fail, and sometimes quite a significant amount. And I would bury my head in the sand and think, I don't want to know. But as soon as I started facing up to it by actually doing the things that are recommended for managing our money, which is, keep a spreadsheet, keep a list of all of your outgoings, keep a list of, everything that you're spending your money on, keep a list of, all of the different commitments that you've got, and keep a very close eye on it. Check your bank balance daily. And yet when it comes to our weight, we do the opposite. But that doesn't help. It really doesn't help. Because I'm a firm believer in knowledge is power. And the more knowledge we have about what we're doing, the better we are able to make decisions. Now, calorie counting is not necessarily something that everybody needs to do on an ongoing basis, but even if you only did it for a short period of time, so that you can understand how your current behaviours are impacting on your weight, and then you know what things you need to start working on to change. That doesn't mean to say you have to change everything all at once and live a life that you're that's not compatible with your own personality, your preferences, your family, all of those sorts of things. But if we don't know where we're going wrong, how on earth can we start to put it right? So the more awareness that we have, the better. That's pretty much all I'm going to have time to do today. But one thing I will just finish with is that it all comes down to how we perceive it. So I used to perceive weighing myself and counting calories as a chore, as something that would just make me feel miserable, and that my whole self-esteem, my self-worth, everything was tied up with my weight and how much I weighed on the scales. But actually what it was really, what the issue really was that standing on the scales made me confront my behaviour. And it was that I needed to change. And once I started doing that, it was so empowering. And that's the way that I see that now, is that it gives me the knowledge to make the best decisions that I can around what I eat, so that I can safeguard my current and my future health and do all the things that I want to do in my life. It's as simple as that. Strip the emotion out and just focus on giving you power over your behaviour. Healthy power, healthy control over what you're doing each day, so that you can actually get the results that you want. Hiding from the numbers really doesn't help. And that's where I'm going to leave it. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know in the comments if that was, and whether there's anything that you're going to do about what you've learned today, and whether that is something that you want to take forward. Next week, I'm going to be helping you with being a bit more objective about this, because I know it's not easy. I know that, you know, getting on the scales can really, you know, affect how we feel each day. But that's the problem. That's the problem we really need to work on. It's not the scales, it's the meaning that we're attaching to them that is the problem. And that's what I'll talk about next week. So I will see you then. Take care. Bye.